Hey, it's Brad. So, everyone has their own concept of God to some degree. Some omniscient, you know, omnipotent, really at any level a higher being, but that's kind of nebulous. So, even to just go with omniscient, um, I mean, theoretically, with, you know, Neuralink and all the exciting things there. I mean, there have been, neural interface technologies around for decades, but this stuff's cool. But as it stands, there's not really yet a standard mind reading technology publicly available. So, firstly, just the thought of what would happen to the world, where, there have been stories about it in sci-fi and fantasy and whatever else, of whether it's one person becoming psychic where they can hear everyone else's thoughts, or really what would happen to the world if everyone could suddenly hear everyone's thoughts. Well, that would be different. And even just having one person hearing your thoughts, it's really kind of the fundamental barrier of intimacy and privacy, your own thoughts. So to think of having someone else in your mind experiencing your thoughts, it's very private, just by nature. But if you could assume, again, that they were encrypted in a way, only the people that could understand or that knew your side of the story, that understood your perspective, could experience those thoughts, then I feel like that would bring a certain form of certainty to it. There's, kind of a safety and security in knowing that if someone were to view your thoughts, at least under that condition, that you wouldn't have to explain yourself to them, because functionally you already would have. So then you're still held accountable to your own standard. Like, if you are doing something that you know you're going to regret, then imagine that it's, future you sitting there looking at you, and you're like, well, I know what you're going to think of me. I know what you're going to think of this moment and this decision. And if you do it anyway, then, you are setting your own path. You are knowing that that disappointed version of you in the future is just waiting for you. And obviously it's, to some degree, you already feel it, but denying disappointment in yourself is just widening that gap and delaying the inevitable. And the problem is that it's not inevitable. There are points of no return. You can back up too far and go over a cliff. So, having someone else in your mind, as uncomfortable as the thought is, again, under that constraint of you can be assured that they would understand you. That kind of puts a whole different spin on the way that you view your own actions. And you know, the trope's been used in whether it's Santa Claus or again the standard, you know, as presented to kids notion of God, just, you know, dude's there always watching. Well, until they can understand and, you know, really internalize the fact that in the future they're going to remember being the past and now current them. Like my kids, trying to explain to them that, you know, they're going to have times in the future that they remember doing something and wish in the future that they had not done that. And they can get it a little bit, but they just don't have the base of experience yet to really, they don't know what bucket to put that in. They don't have words for it in their mind. Like my son was trying to teach my mom, their grandmother is in town. He was trying to teach her how to play one of his games that he plays on the Switch. And she's not much of a gamer outside of, you know, her choice casual games. But, you know, she loves the kids and loves spending time with them and everything, so she was willing to give it a shot. And he was like, oh, just do this, just do that. She's like, well, I don't know how. I'm trying to learn. How do we do this? And he was having a really tough time. And I realized he's never had to teach anyone anything before. I mean, generally when he reports information, it's like, oh, well, how did this happen? Or tell me about that thing. But to actually explain something to someone that they don't understand, and he's trying to put that together, it's really an interesting process to watch. I mean, I get that it was frustrating too on all sides, but it's funny. And that whole thing of trying to put yourself in someone else's shoes, trying to imagine what it's like in their head, trying to be psychic for a minute and figure out what on their side of things, what information needs to come through to convey what you're trying to say. I mean, that's kind of the issue of all communication. Well, maybe once we can all just communicate telepathically, that'll just be easier, huh?